Sit, stand, walk, run, skip, jump, and of course, point your toes, yells a ballet teacher. George does what he is told because his mother is watching. Why else would any other 9-year-old boy be auditioning for the Imperial Theater School in Russia? He despised ballet and couldn't wait to join the Imperial Naval Academy. He and his sister Tamara finish their twirls and leaps before they sit down again. When the director calls the names of the chosen children, George is horrified to hear his own. As George leaves his mother, he walks through the door and into his new life of dance. During his first year, he was called Rat by the other boys, received mostly low grades, and felt lonely. The younger students were not allowed to participate in any performances yet and often repeated basic exercises with little idea of what they would lead to. His second year, George Balanchine had encountered his passion. He said, "I was Cupid, a tiny Cupid. It was Petitpaw's choreography. I was set down on a golden eagle, and suddenly everything opened. A crowd of people, an elegant audience, and the Mariinsky Theater all light with blue and gold. And suddenly, the orchestra started playing. I sat on the cage in indescribable ecstasy, enjoying it all, the music, the theater, and the fact that I was on stage. Thanks to Sleeping Beauty, I fell in love with ballet." When Russia entered World War I under Tsar Nicholas's leadership, George was still learning his first ballet steps. Outside of the school, food became scarce and expensive. However, the children inside the school hardly knew a war was being fought. Because they were under the Tsar's protection, they dressed warmly and ate nourishing food so that they could dance. Things changed by 1917, the third year of the war, when the Tsar could no longer protect them. Food was impossible to gather and fighting on the streets was frequent. The school shut down and George Balanchine, now age 13, reunited with his family. Finally, the Commissar of Education convinced the revolutionaries that Russia would benefit from some new artists. The school opened up again, dancing lessons went on, and George Balanchine was starting to progress as a classical dancer. At age 16, the director allowed him to choreograph a dance for a performance. George pretended he knew what he was doing to establish authority of being the ballet master, and his partner responded well. In his piece, he tried to show a man conquering a woman with love, and in the part, he gave the impression of a man carrying off a prize as he lifted the girl with one arm high in the air. One staff member was so appalled he enforced that George be expelled from the school. But the director was impressed and furthermore believed that the other students should try to gain his enterprise and artistry. George Balanchine and his, at the time 15-year-old wife Tamara, traveled to Europe when a failed opera singer named Vladimir Dmitriev had permission from the government to take a small group of artists outside of Russia to demonstrate art in the Soviet Union. The dancers, after touring a while, did not want to go back to life in Russia, especially Balanchine, who believed that new ideas there were crushed. The group traveled to Paris for the audition for Serge Diaghilev's Ballet Russe. Because of the impact that World War I had on his company, he had made an agreement with the Monte Carlo Opera in Monaco that his dancers could use the opera house if they performed in the operas. So Diaghilev now needed a choreographer to arrange the opera ballets. When George was asked if he could fulfill this role, he had never choreographed a complete opera ballet in his life, but he answered with a single confident yes. With the company, George traveled and explored Europe, different cultures, and many languages. He was quick at choreographing good opera ballets and in 5 months had accomplished 16 short works and 1 large one. After shows, George and Tamara would have parties and George was a lively host. He could play different instruments and come up with and sing parodies of Russian folk songs. He loved his job, his work, encountering interesting people, but he no longer loved Tamara, so the couple parted ways. When the company took a break, George went on his own little trip when he saw in the papers that Diaghilev was dead. He was now 25 and without a job. George took up many other bits of work and fell ill with pneumonia. He recovered, but not for a while, with both of his lungs permanently damaged and one lung in 1930 collapsed completely. However, this did not stop him from his journey of dance and choreography. In 1933, after a performance one night, Balanchine went into his dressing room and a 6'3" man from the United States started talking to him. This man was Lincoln Kirstein, and he told Balanchine his ideas for developing ballet as an American art form. Only a few months later, George found himself sailing to New York City. Together, Kirstein and Balanchine founded the School of American Ballet. They began teaching on New Year's Day with 32 students. George's first ballet was Serenade. It is performed by 28 dancers in blue costumes in front of a blue background. Balanchine included unexpected class events into the choreography. For example, one student fell and he incorporated it into the ballet. In 1942, Balanchine was asked to construct a ballet for the Ringling Brothers Circus using 50 women and 50 elephants. George agreed and called his good friend Igor Stravinsky, a famous composer. He said, "I wonder if you'd like to do a little ballet with me." "For whom?" asked Stravinsky. "For some elephants," replied George. "How old?" he asked. "Very young," Balanchine assured him. Finally, Stravinsky said, "All right. If they are very young elephants, I will do it." Before the New York City Ballet was known for that title, the dancers were initially called Ballet Society. They eventually had enough subscribers to book the company into the city center. A lawyer named Morton Baum had seen some of Balanchine's latest work and invited Ballet Society to stand beside the New York City Opera and call themselves the New York City Ballet. Tanny was another wife George had, and she inspired him to choreograph Hershey Kay's Western Symphony that had many difficult steps, all with a flirtatious touch.
George Balanchine, you just knew and you could see in his choreography how much he loved to be in the United States. Everything is faster, everything is bigger. He also took traditional steps and made them more playful, more fun. He took a classic framework and modernized it. And then it ends with the entire company on stage doing consecutive pirouettes in unison as the curtain goes down. It's as if they just keep dancing forever.
Balanchine became older and sicker and was drawing near the end of his life and passion. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan chose Balanchine to receive the highest award the U.S. government gives to honor a citizen, the Medal of Freedom. When someone told George this, he joked and said, "Of what country?" Balanchine was buried on May 3, 1983, where Lincoln Kirstein sobbed because the friend who had made his dream come true was now gone. What he did was explore the world of dance and how far one could push the body physically and artistically. He stretched and expanded the classical ballet technique while not only teaching his students how to dance, but America how to dance, and audiences how to look and appreciate dance. Though Balanchine's work was clearly in the service of the classical tradition, it was also adventurous and innovative. Time again, he confounded the audience's expectations. What he was doing was not what they thought of as ballet.